As we know, addiction is always something that keeps us hooked, something that we love, that maybe we shouldn't be doing as much. And number 2 in this series is video games and how video games can keep you addicted sometimes for 9, 10, 11, 12 hours a day. Yep, I've had those marathons way too much. Like, there have been days where I've got up, game, eat, game, sleep. And then the same thing again the next day and the next day. And sometimes it was weeks that went by the exact same way. There comes a point when you just have to decide no means no. But it's never that simple. So how do you cure a video gaming addiction? That's what this video is going to be about. It was around COVID times when I got my PlayStation for the first time. And you know the craze when you have the PlayStation for the first time, when you have all these games available, when you haven't played these games ever before. Now I was spending 9 hours and 10 hours some days just gaming FIFA. And it wasn't even with other people. Sometimes it was just by myself. And I would spend hours just doing the same thing again and again and again. And you know what's the worst thing? You know when you feel, okay, you know what, I've spent too much time now I'm going to stop. But then you lose the game. And if you're a gamer, you probably know what happens next. If you lose a game, you can never end on a loss. So you need to keep going again till you get that win. And then you say, okay, once I win the next game, then I'm going to stop. But what happens when you win the next game? I think I'm in my flow. I'm going to play one more game. If I win one more, I can just get one step closer to the next division. And you keep going like that to the point where you just don't stop. And now it's been an hour since you said you'd stop. And then it goes on for another hour. It goes to the point where you decide, now I have to sleep. Now I have to go to bed. Maybe you play one more game after that. And then the obvious things like I could have been more productive if I hadn't gamed. There are more connections I could have made in person if I hadn't gamed. Okay, that's all fine. But we're talking about the gaming addiction, right? So if I was to tell you that there is a cure for gaming addiction, would you believe me? I think you probably wouldn't. But here's one thing I did that really cured my gaming addiction completely. And this was simply delete the game. Now you might think, deleting the game is not going to do anything because I'm just going to reinstall it again. Now I'm not talking about games on the iPad or games on your phone because that's a totally different ball game. But I'm talking about PlayStation games which carry a lot of data with it. The thing with FIFA especially was it used to take almost 15 or 16 GB on storage. So that means when you reinstall it, it's going to take such a long time for you to actually enter and play the game that by then the impulse of me having to play the game is gone already. Because the reason I used to play initially was sometimes I'd feel in that moment, I want to play now. I just feel so restless. I want to somehow get that energy out. And the best way to get that energy out is to play. Now, if I've deleted the game, what happens is, first of all, to install the game completely, it takes almost 40 to 50 minutes. So now that's an additional 50-minute gap that you've given between your impulse and the time when you actually get to act on your impulse. And it doesn't end there. After that, you have another 1 or 2 hours where you have to wait for the installation in-game to complete. So this means from your initial period, let's say you felt the impulse to game at 9 a.m. So when you actually get to act on the impulse of actually playing the game, of actually doing what you wanted to do in the first place, it was actually 10:30 when you could act on the impulse. So now, between these 1.5 hours, you might have already lost that impulse. Because what is the definition of an impulse? You want to do that thing in that moment. So that moment might last maybe a minute, 2 minutes, let's just say half an hour. You still have to wait another hour for you to actually act on the impulse. So, what is your answer there? Basically, make it so difficult for you to actually do that thing that your brain would be like, nah, don't bother doing this because it's too much work. I do not want to get involved in doing too much work. For creating habits, you want to make things easier. You want to make things come closer to you, like I talked about in a different video. You want to make things very easy to a point where it's almost second nature for you to do and it's almost enjoyable for you to do as well. But when you want to break a habit, you make things as difficult as possible for you to reach there, because then your brain will be thinking, there's no point in me trying because I'm too lazy to go and install the game and wait for the game to load and then head into the game. Because by then, That period of impulse is past, and now you can move on to doing something else completely. And if you found this video to be useful, you might want to check out the video on the right. So smash subscribe, slap a like on, and always remember, never stop dreaming. See you all.